Well, Carl and the Maestro, PR department, and all those in attendance, I had to remember something very important today. Two very important numbers that came up. 1 and 5. Now, for those who don't get the 1 represents year 1, when we first started. The first day we started this show, January 24th of 2014. Didn't know what direction we were heading into, but had a passion back for this that I thought I've long lost. The 5, for when, well over 5 years ago, we celebrated us going full circle back home, back to where we were on the date we started and was able to have a show then. And that was at the start of the pandemic in 2020. 4 years later, as we celebrated a decade, what a hell of a celebration. 3 months after that, we would be outside of MusicVillage headquarters doing shows in hotels and cars, only for 3/4 of the year to spin by and for us to come back home once again. So 5 years after making our way through a pandemic and 11 years after starting this show off with nothing but a Burger King headset and a laptop, we say thank you to all those out there who got us to this point and just look back in awe of what we've created over the past 11 years. Now, like I say every single year, because I always like to show some form of appreciation to those who got me here, we're going to say this again by the end of the show. To all those who got us here to this point, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And secondly, get prepared for a whirlwind of silliness, and chances are for my voice to be thrown out for the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, because we're going to wear it out today, especially with the intro that's about to happen next. So you've been warned, and just in case it's a little loud, turn down the headsets, because who said you can't go home twice? I don't. So without any further ado, hit it. All right, all you music makers, video game players, and entertainers from all around the world, welcome to the 11-year anniversary edition of Music Village. I am your homecoming anniversary host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing the best from the North, Southeast, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And seeing the fact that we've hit the date where we first started this thing since we left it 6 years ago prior, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this very special full fighting anniversary homecoming edition of Music Village. Because we kick things off with what we think is going to happen for this weekend's pay-per-view of Saturday Night's main event from Texas, apparently according to Carl and the Maestro. Nice! Next up on the plate, we go ahead and check out some cool games from a planet far away from here and from the steaming sheet alike for another edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. And then we take things from green directly to red, yellow, and apparently a pinch of iron in there as well too, for a very special Weapon X edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And if you're wondering at home to keep up with the anniversary trend as of late, it will involve mutants. Just saying that much, it will involve mutants. Next up on the plate, we find out what you independent artists got planned for this weekend for another edition of the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before we blow out the anniversary candles, we wrap up this show with yet another edition of the Up to Speed News, which is me giving you guys news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, you might as well let that confetti rain to celebrate an anniversary homecoming like no other. Cause it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your Friday afternoon/night. Only here, right here on Music Village. So let's get this anniversary show started, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And for those wondering out there, it took us several walks around the neighborhood and a long listening to music session to get us properly prepared for today's show. And that's mostly because of the excitement and, happiness we feel of being on this microphone on the exact same day we started this whole thing 11 long years ago. Now, I tried to convince Carl and the maestro to move the desk over to the other side of the room to truly feel at home for Music Village, going back to where it originally started, but they told me this thing is heavy as hell and there's no way we can move it. So either way you look at it, folks, it still feels like home, it still feels awesome, and yeah, the only word to properly describe this is magical. Truly magical to be on the air for 11 years. But outside of the mushy stuff, folks, I think it's time for us to give our predictions and find out who we think is gonna win on this Saturday's pay-per-view, only known as Saturday Night's main event. From the Frostbank Center deep in the heart of Texas, San Antonio, Texas at that. And the first match that we have up is going to be none other than Jey Uso going one-on-one against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, the only reason this match is happening is because Gunther believed that nobody was taking this championship seriously, and at the same time didn't believe that no one deserved the shot for this championship belt. For Jey Uso to step up and for Gunther to call him a clown, and also to immediately tell him that he's not on his level like he would tell everybody who would try to challenge him for the championship belt, for Jey Uso to prove otherwise. And with all that being said, folks, who do we think is going to win this match? Well, if I have to put my heart on it, I would have to say Jey Uso. But realistically speaking, I gotta give it to Gunther because I got a feeling something sideways is gonna happen during this said match. Either Drew McIntyre's gonna come out and cost him the championship, or one of the members of the Rogue Bloodline might come out and cost him the championship match as well too. Cause yeah, once you're in a family blood dispute, or if the Scottish Terminator got his eyes on you, it's only a matter of time before they cost you something very dear to you. So I'm giving it to Gunther to win under some form of shenanigans that I know Gunther is not gonna like. And the next match to take place at this said pay-per-view would see none other than Braun Breaker going one-on-one against the Celtic Warrior himself, Sheamus, for the Intercontinental Championship. And the only reason this match is taking place is thanks to one person pushing another and another person pushing to try to become Intercontinental Champion to finally complete the Grand Slam trilogy of his career that he's looking to actually finish. And according to Carl the Maestro, it's more of an anthology than a trilogy when it comes to Sheamus trying to get that. And yeah, I would have to agree. Because for those out there who don't know, Sheamus being a former United States champion, a former world champion, and WWE champion, as well as someone who won tag team gold with Cesaro and was able to even win King of the Ring and the Money in the Bank as well as the Royal Rumble, this would complete the set for Sheamus if he wins the Intercontinental Championship. So who do I think is going to win this match? Well, since I got a feeling this might be the last crack that Sheamus is going to get at that said Intercontinental Championship, he's going to go all out. And I got a feeling this might be his night to finally go home a Grand Slam champion. So I'm giving it to Sheamus to win this match. And most likely end up in one big hell of a banger come WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. Who knows? And the next match to take place on this said card would see none other than Jacob Fatu going one-on-one against the Quilted Quick Picker Upper Braun Strowman. And it's been a while since we've said that, folks, and the only reason this match is taking place is because Jacob Fatu, who would decide to try to pick a fight with Braun Strowman and actually take him out with the help of the rest of the Bloodline 2.0, would end up finding out that Braun Strowman doesn't stay down that easily and challenged him to a match at Saturday Night's main event. And I got a feeling this is gonna get ugly. It might be one of the best matches of the night because it's gonna be a hoss fight. Yep, definitely is. And with all that being said, who I think is gonna win this match? Now, with these two people, mammoth monsters as you will, in this match, it's really hard to say who I think is gonna win the contest. So I would have to say it's gonna be a bit of a toss-up. If the rest of the Rogue Bloodline comes out to help out Jacob Fatu, then I'm giving it to Jacob. But at the same time, since I know LA Knight is going to be somewhere in the house trying to prevent that from happening, it's a 50-50 split between Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu, but it's going to be a hell of a fight to see and a hell of a contest to watch. But for the first confrontation, because I know this ain't going to be the last, I'm going to have to give it to Jacob Fatu. As much as I want to give it to Braun Strowman, as he's going to probably running power slam the daylights out of him, yeah, it's going to be Jacob to win this first confrontation and most likely leading to the two duking it out at the Royal Rumble. In the Rumble match itself. And the next match to take place on this card, which most likely may be the main event of the evening, is going to see none other than Rhea Ripley going one-on-one against Nia Jax for the Women's World Championship. And the only reason this match is taking place is because after Tiffany Stratton would decide to cash in her Money in the Bank, Nia Jax not getting a rematch and automatically heading over to Raw to cause a ruckus due to the championship she lost. This is the only reason this match is happening, and plus, Rhea Ripley would ask for this match personally. So with all that being said, who do I think is going to win this match? Rhea. Definitely Rhea Ripley to win this match. And the only reason I say that, folks, is because after all the trials and tribulations Rhea went through to get that belt back from Liv, I got a feeling it's going to take a crowbar or the jaws of life to pry it from her grip. And it's going to take a lot more than an angry Samoan to take that title away from her as well. So, yeah, Rhea Ripley to win this match. But hey, anything can happen in the WWE. JR said it many years ago, and it's proven true to this very day. But like we say at the end of all of these reviews or match card predictions that we usually have, to all the competitors competing that night on a grand Saturday, that's where the lights are the brightest, may you don't get hurt. Yeah, thank you, Colin the Maestro. Good luck, and put on one hell of a show that none of us will ever, and I do mean ever, forget. And seriously, don't get hurt. I have to reiterate that part, especially this close to WrestleMania. Don't get hurt. And I guess with that said, folks, we might as well head back to the music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of this homecoming celebration edition of Music Village right after this. So don't wear your horns out in traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And Colin Maestro asked me during the break, since this is a big homecoming, is it anywhere near the original time you originally started Music Village? Well, technically, yes. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we never truly got a chance to have our first episode in the afternoon due to, well, not only traffic, but a whole bunch of other shenanigans that was going on. So technically, it was a night show. So, yeah, we're home, folks. We're home. And to celebrate that homecoming, folks, I think it's time for us to make our way to a planet far away from here and to the steam machine alike for a very special 11-game edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. Yes, Colin the Maestro, 11 games. I'm ready for it. And the first game that we have up comes from the itch.io page of Aaron My Young, or Aaron My Young? And we'll go with the second one just in case, with their set game of I'm Struggling. And this game automatically reminds me, because of the environment, of, I would have to say it reminds me of Silent Hill. Mostly because of the snowy filled streets and the flickering lights, and I guess the pictures on the wall as well, too, that I got a feeling may take you to a different world if you get too close to them. So here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to have, I guess, a lighter or some form of device to help you get out of this crazy world that you're currently in. And according to Colin the Maestro, since he's a smoker, you got the lighter handy. All right, well, at least wherever sort of world you transport to that will most likely lead to a lost episode of the Twilight Zone, you'll be ready for whatever comes at you, especially those crazy bat creatures, because they're there. I know they're there. And speaking of taking on nightmarish-like creatures, folks, the next game that we have up comes from the itch.io page of Shadow Band with their set game of Little Bart Bears. And this game automatically reminds me of a what-if scenario of Little Nightmares was sponsored by The Simpsons, or had a crossover with The Simpsons, and several episodes of the Treehouse of Horror, if you want to add that in there too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and I got a feeling there's a high possibility that's not going to happen. You get a chance to actually use your environment against these creepy creatures, including a creepy three-headed Krabappel that tries to come after you, or a Mr. Burns lurking behind a door that most likely must be suffering from radioactive madness. And a Cardinal and the Maestro, you can only run from these said creatures. There's no real escape from them. Yeah, sounds like a real Treehouse of Horror episode to me. So I guess the only thing I hope for in the near future other than that is a chance for you to find an open doorway to escape, or at least go to a different area so you can run from something else, maybe from a giant oversized mill house. And Carl and the Michael said no. All right? Well, the next game that we have up, besides being chased by animated Marklin bees, comes from none other than the developers Bobber Productions with their set game of Crash. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess, Secret Agent Clank, mostly because of the environment that he's currently in and the fact that I believe he has some form of gadgets to help him out in this environment. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you do have some form of gadgets to help you build this set world. And according to Call of the Maestro, it's a stealth game where you're hunting snails. Well, here's hoping you get some assault or assault-like gun that can be used to take out the snails. Even though Carl and the Maestro said if you pour salt on those snails, it's gonna alert everybody with all the screams you're gonna hear from it. Well, you'll find a way to get it done. I got a feeling they'll find a way to get it done. But besides taking on snails in a, I guess, Metal Gear-like environment, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Flagman Jeremy with their set game of Go-Kart Racing 2. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess the event you get a chance to go play in the said place of sports and games. Yeah, with a little hint of real-life go-karting in there as well, too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to, design your own go-karts for this, but at the same time figure out why in the world are you going 100 miles per hour on a turn with 3 people surrounding you? Can go-karts really go that fast? And according to Carl and the Maestro, if you're able to soup them up, yes they can. All right, well, here's hoping in the near future for this game, you can soup up your go-kart to get ready for action like that, because I got a feeling you're gonna need it. And, oh yeah, also hoping that you can design some tracks as well, too, even though Carl and the Maestro said that's a terrible idea with how crazy you design tracks. I'm not that crazy when it comes to track design. Blame the indie company out there or the indie gamers, because they'll put a loop in there in a second. That or one of those figure 8 track crossovers that'll lead to somebody eating a T-bone. So don't blame me. Don't blame me. But besides shifting the blame to you indie gamers out there for your crazier than all hell tracks over the years, the next game that we have up comes from the developers The Sculpt Entertainment with their set game of Mineshaft. And this game automatically reminds me of, well, Tetris. That definitely reminds me of Tetris. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and according to Carl and the Maestro, depending on where you land the piece, yes, you can have some form of power-up to help you dig further down the Earth's surface so you can get a cool combo move with it as well, too. Right? And also you can play against your friends. Nice! And I got a feeling if it's anything like the traditional Tetris, I may be able to beat Carl and the Maestro by level 28. I was going to say 40, but it might be a close contest around 28, so I'll just leave it at that number and move on to the next game, which comes from none other than the developers Brave Men Games. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Direct C, or Dead Sea Director's Cut Remaster. And this game automatically reminds me of, well, Jaws. I would have to say Jaws. I would have said open water, but then you have a boat that can come and save you, so no, nothing like that. So here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you can somehow find a boat to help you from getting eaten by a shark that looks like, Jaws. Definitely looks like Jaws, and here's hoping you can avoid that fate of getting eaten and, split in half by a shark. It's the easiest way I can say it without having some form of sensor over on the right-hand corner from being torn limb from limb. Yeah, I don't want to go into any deep details, but let's just say I got a feeling that can happen to you, so here's hoping you can avoid it. But besides mentioning what happened to somebody in a shark film years prior, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Circle Fair Star or Thrillfeel Ism Austere. We'll go with that one with their said game of mai.atmo. And Carl and the Maestro laughing over in the corner, but at the same time, I dare you to say it. Exactly. But to get back on track here, folks, this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say it reminds me of Dungeon Siege with a little hint of RuneScape in there as well, too. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to learn some cool magical spells, but even some spells from the bosses that you're able to beat as well, too. That or a chance to upgrade the current spells you have already. Which I'm hoping one of them is a tornado attack to bring the enemies in closer so you can take them all out at once. Because trust me when I say this, a very helpful skill to have out in the battlefield. Especially to take out those creatures, including those crazy bats and potentially orcs that may be lurking in that forest. And the next game that we have up, besides taking on orcs in the forest, comes from the developers 5 Centaurs with their said game of Camelbirds. Camelbirds? I think they mean ostrich, folks, because that's exactly what they're riding, that or an emu. And this game automatically reminds me of, well, by the way the tracks look, I don't know why, but it reminds me of Moo Moo Farm from Mario Kart. So we'll just go with Mario Kart. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you can design your emu or ostrich in the way you can and want to help beat your opponent. And according to Carl and the Maestro, you could put a detective hat on one of them, but training them to be faster on the field, not too entirely sure. And at the same time, with the distractions that are around there, I got a feeling it's going to probably buck you off and ride off into the distance. You know, that's a great point, Carl and the Maestro. I didn't think about that. What, did you guys used to take care of ostriches and emus? And apparently they did. The more you know about a person. And the next game that we have up, besides Carl and the Maestro taking care of emus when they were younger, comes from none other than Acidic Studios, according to Carl and the Maestro, with their said game of Tragedy at Asherville Lane. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Fatal Frame with a little hint of Outlast in there as well, too. And here's hoping in the near future, and I might as well just give it up now because I got a feeling it ain't gonna happen, you get something more than a lighter to defend yourself against these crazy ghost-like creatures. Because I got a feeling that if you don't, they're gonna come back to get you in the worst way known possible and take you out within seconds. And according to Carl and the Maestro, as long as you don't stare at them, you should be fine. Well, how in the world you're supposed to know they're there? Apparently, I'm supposed to take a picture of them and look at the picture. Well, isn't it technically looking at them if you do that? You know, they're spirits. They can tell those things. And Carl and the Maestro is at a loss, and the PR department said, just call a ghost hunter and hopefully it can get solved. You know, that's the best answer I've heard all day, and I would have to agree. And the last but not least game we have up to celebrate this 11-year anniversary comes from none other than the itch.io page of Martin Paladin with their said game of Mantle. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say a what-if scenario if you were actually in the mines during the game of Motherlode in 3D, minus the giant oversized drill you're trying to use to get to the center of the earth. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you can upgrade this said mine vehicle to take on the rough terrain, because I got a feeling the lower you go into that mine shaft is only going to get worse, but also a chance for something to defend yourself with just in case it comes screaming out of whatever hole you dug into the earth, or that other people dug into the earth. I can't blame you, the tracks are already there made. And Carl and the Maestro said there might be a mole man down there too. Yeah, well, hopefully you can befriend it. Now, fingers crossed. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still coming in from a planet far away from here, yet close enough to be beamed into your homes in less than 24 hours, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Free Game Planet page of one man only known as freegameplanet.com to check out a whole bunch of weird, strange, frightening, and creepy games that are just out of this world. If you also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still coming through the cargo ship, cargo plane, or even subterranean train that is currently rumbling underneath your toes from the world of the Steam Machine, then you can go ahead and head on over to the store.steampower page, only known as store.steampower.com, and click ever so lightly on that upcoming button while clicking on that Indy button to match it up to check out a whole bunch of cool games that'll make you feel like you're at home while playing games in your home or at your friend's house, depending on wherever in the world you are playing those set games. But when I'm playing them, I'm at home. I don't know why I'm giving a thumbs up. Nobody can see that at home. No one at all. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with yet another new DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories right after this. So stay tuned. Right, all you video gamers, welcome to yet another X-Weapon Super Fighting Collaboration Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with a title like that, we decided to go with the game none other than X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse, which apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, is the full title for the game. All right? And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to go ahead, grab our mutant powers, and prepare to take out one of the most dangerous mutants in the world as we get ready to paint the picture. Alright, this video game story began approximately 18 years ago, right after my sister was able to beat the game. And according to Carl and the Maestro, technically 19 and a half years ago after she beat the game. And we used the original characters that we used from the first X-Men Legends to beat the game. Not only was I able to use Wolverine, my sister, Storm, Iceman, and Magneto. Unfortunately, we couldn't use Colossus to beat the final fight with Apocalypse. We had to go with a little bit of an alternative switch up to the party, but he was on standby just in case things went south during that first fight with Apocalypse. But after beating the game with those set characters we mentioned before, my sister almost jumped off the couch realizing who in the world we were able to unlock right after we beat the game, and it would be none other than the Merc with a mouth himself, Deadpool. Now, I didn't know who in the world Deadpool was at the time, but my sister, who was watching Marvel cartoons, read some comic books on the side, knew who in the world Deadpool was and how dangerous and unorthodox this character was. Now, for those who don't understand what I'm talking about and why in the world my sister was with Glee, not only this man had an ability to use dual swords, dual guns, different forms of kicks, and even a move called the Blade Cyclone, but one move my sister used more often than most during this whole thing would be a special move was called the Nitrogen Blast, which was an ability where he would jump into the air and throw out a whole bunch of explosive nitroglycerin grenades that would cause freezing damage to enemies all around. And my sister abused the daylights out of that power when I tried to use Storm, so much so that I would say, well, then why am I here for? Why am I here for? You know what? I'm gonna use Colossus. I might as well try to take out some enemies with Colossus. Since you got freezing covered, I might as well move on to something else. Then she started to use the Blade Cyclone and started killing enemies before I could get my hands on them, pretty much stirring them up into a pot like a blender, and then just started using dual shots and really started to get crazy once she started teleporting from place to place, starting to fool the enemies. So after that experience went by, folks, I thought it couldn't get any worse than that. But my sister would surprise me one day when I went over to the house and would show me another character she would be able to unlock that put a big smile on my face. And that would be none other than Iron Man. And the only reason she was able to unlock it is because she went into every single room known possible in all the stages and would happen to find Tony Stark, his armor, and would be able to get him back in the suit and would be able to get him on the battlefield. So while my sister was going crazy with Nitrogen Blasts and Blade Cyclones and dual shots, I would join in on the fun with a couple of Beam shots and screaming out, "I am Iron Man," while doing it at the same time because I was a big fan as a kid of Iron Man. But when you thought the craziness couldn't get any worse than that, folks, Scarlet Witch would join the fun alongside with us, and then finally the last piece of that already just excellent puzzle would be filled after my sister would be able to beat the Danger Room with Deadpool and with me with Iron Man and Scarlet Witch and the rotating fourth we had, and would be able to unlock Professor Charles Xavier. Now, first of all, I thought when my sister unlocked the character, I thought he was going to be in a wheelchair. That was going to be it. He wasn't going to be able to do anything major on the battlefield, but man, was I wrong. Because not only did he keep us alive under the hardest of difficulties, but on top of all of that, he would be able to use his mutant brain powers to mess up those characters without even taking a single step, even though he could. So, imagine, folks, at this point in the adventure, a crazy Deadpool, Iron Man shooting people left, right, and center with turrets and laser beam blasts, and then Professor Charles Xavier just weakening people down to their basic levels with Scarlet Witch going insane. That's what we would decide to do going through the next playthrough the entire game, and was able to beat Apocalypse without taking a single hit of damage from Apocalypse himself, proving that that was the team of absolute insanity and danger combined into one big, giant, oversized Reese's peanut butter cup of insanity. And according to Caller to my show, the other thing that would help is the fact that we had powered up suits too. Yeah, as a bonus. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special Cross Mutant X Team Fighting Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with that, we'll be back with more right after this. So stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And three things I almost forgot to mention. One, when my sister unlocked Deadpool, she had the power of regeneration and kept stealing a whole bunch of kills from me when I was all those characters, which I'm pretty sure I did mention. But secondly, I almost forgot that the abilities that Deadpool had in this game, he also had in Marvel Ultimate Alliance as well too. So I got a feeling there may be another video game story in the near future mentioning his crazy shenanigans in that. And finally, once again, my sister is way too good with Deadpool, and yet she warned me about using Miss Marvel. The real danger around here is Deadpool. He really is a problem and a menace, and not to mention very funny with a couple of the cutscenes too. But besides the absolute hilarious shenanigans I remembered and almost laughed about during the video game story and now as we speak, I think it's time for us to go ahead and check out what you indie artists got planned for this weekend with one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And we kick things off with Friday, January 24th. And the first band we have up is TK and the Howlers, who's going to be performing at the Pine Hill Tavern in Pine Hill, New Jersey at 5 p.m. Stormin' Norman Selden is going to be performing at the LBI National Golf Course in Little Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey at 5 p.m. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the Simply Greek Restaurant and Bar in Long Branch, New Jersey at 6 p.m. You can also see Rip and Soso, who's all going to be performing at the Starland Ballroom in Sayreville, New Jersey at 7 p.m. And they're performing alongside with Mikkel's Plot and Black Dawn. Man, thanks for reminding me, Carl, in my show. Anyway, next band we have up is Extra Rich in Class, who's going to be performing at the Par 440 Restaurant Lounge in Millburn, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Lounge Act with Jars of Flies is all going to be performing at the Debonair Music Hall in Teaneck, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Paul Damien Ipitalo with Ippy and the Project is all going to be performing at the Stanhope House in Stanhope, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Gerald Esposito is going to be performing at the Villa Vittoria Restaurante in Brick, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Joe Pinto with the Burnt Leftovers is all going to be performing at the Airport Pub and Package in Sussex, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up and completely out of order according to Carl and the Maestro, you can see the Flippin' Mickeys, who's going to be performing at the Villas Fishing Club in Villas, New Jersey at 7 p.m. And on Saturday, January 25th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Riverhawk is going to be performing at the Sunken Silo Brew Works in Lebanon, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Bryce Matthews is going to be performing at the Earth Room Concerts in Middletown, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Gary Arias is going to be performing at the O'Reilly's Pub and Grill in Newton, New Jersey at 7 p.m. Pam McCoy is going to be performing at the McLuhan's Ram Runner in Seabright, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. Edie Lenz is going to be performing at the Watts Hotel Tapestry Collection in Rahway, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Jonathan Trisham is going to be performing at the Off the Hook in Highlands, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap it up for Saturday night, you could see none other than Mike Garanja with Sharp Edge, who's all going to be performing at the Great Notch Inn in Little Falls, New Jersey at 9 p.m. And on Sunday, January 26th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Gospel Sunday Brunch with Jim Sloan and Friends. It's going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 11:30 a.m. Megan Kelly is going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Austin, Texas at 3 p.m. NCOM Monthly Barbecue is going to be performing at the NCOM Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma at 3 p.m. Head BE is going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 7 p.m. You can also see Reverend Red and This Loathsome Paradise, who's all going to be performing at the Transplants Brewing Company in Palmdale, California at 7 p.m. Bobcat One Man Band is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Spafford is going to be performing at the Rev Room in Little Rock, Arkansas at 7 p.m. You can also see Steve Goody, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee at 8 p.m. Bruturus is going to be performing at the Poorhouse Music Hall in Raleigh, North Carolina at 8 p.m. Danny Keene is going to be performing at the Bitter End in New York, New York at 8:30 p.m. And to finally wrap it up for Sunday night, you can see Back in Black, who's going to be performing at the Atmosphere in Loganville, Georgia at 8 p.m. And on Monday night, or Monday, January 27th, wow, we're flying through this month fast, you can see these following bands performing in the local area live near you. Hector Guzman is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 1 p.m. The Chrome Wheels Band is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 3 p.m. Only 3 hours separate, or 2 according to Carl and Maestro, depending on what time they warm up the instruments. Anyway, the next band we have up is the Magic Monday Gaming Night, who's going to be performing at the NCOM Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma at 4 p.m. Sky Covington Live is going to be performing at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe in Detroit, Michigan at 6 p.m. Jess Richmond is going to be performing at the Little Bar Restaurant in Goodland, Florida at 6:30 p.m. Duo Over is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 7 p.m. Zach Johnson is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. Open Mic Monday is going to be performing at the Mr. Peabody's in Encinitas, California at 8:30 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Monday night and for all the bands we're going to mention during this homecoming anniversary, you can see the Garage Boys, who's going to be performing at the Fremont Street Experience in Las Vegas, Nevada at 10 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we could list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, go ahead and check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, they're worth the listen. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, because we've been saying it for well over 11 years now, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these Diamonds in the Rough. Only here, right here, on MusicVillage. So don't get lost in that afternoon or evening traffic just yet, folks. And stay tuned. And we're back with the show that is lucky enough to go home twice on a live open mic, only known as MusicVillage. Now, for those who don't get it, it's the fact that we were able to have this show on the date it originally started on 2 separate occasions. And if the pattern's true, I got a feeling by 2030, we'll be back here once again, bringing shenanigans to your afternoon while you fight through traffic. Hopefully by then, we're in hover cars. And Carl and the Maestro said that would be dangerous, but I still want them. You know, the Jetsons promised a lot back in the day, and I hope to see it delivered one day. Hopefully. Hopefully. Well, besides us wanting something from the Jetsons that I got a feeling it's going to have to go through a lot of safety protocols. I'm looking at my watch right now. Oh, it's just about that time. It's the witching hour, which means it's time for us to be brought up to speed with news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. Scott Clark, if you're listening out there, that one's for you, man. That one's for you. And in our, wait for it, and in our first news story, and in what in the world is going on with breakfast cereal news. And get this, folks, this was something I saw this morning that made me laugh so hard, water almost shot out of my nose. Because now they've announced to collaborate with Tortino's Pizza Roll. General Mills would decide to collaborate with Tortino's to make, and get this, Cinnamon Toast Crunch pizza flavored cereal. What? Pizza flavored cereal in enough time, just in time for the Super Bowl. And to make things even better, folks, yeah, it actually looks like a pizza delivery box that you could be able to get with the said cereal that they're gonna have in time to line up with the Super Bowl. I got a headache right now. How and why? Here I thought Nabisco was ridiculous, making eggnog flavored cookies and gummy bear cookies. This is over the top. And before anybody out there is wondering how in the world can you get it, well, here's the thing. The only way you can find this box of cereal is that you have to head on over to the Cinnamon Toast Crunch website and try a box of your very own. And yes, they are giving away free boxes as a sweepstakes, but the bad news is that it's only limited to 1,000 fans that will be able to try it while supplies last. And if you think I'm gonna go out there and buy Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal after not eating cereal for well over 2 years, no, that is not gonna be the one that is gonna try out my palate and then all of a sudden I end up in an emergency room. It ain't happening, man. It ain't happening. But for those out there who wants to participate in this, you can head on over to the Cinnamon Toast Crunch website. only known as shop.cinnamon.toastcrunch.com, to try a box out for yourselves. And as a bit of a heads up, this contest to try out a box of cereal that is pizza flavored is going to be, as of January 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the year of 2025. Of course. But for those out there who can't get their hands on the said pizza box, and for that, don't worry about it. We'll find out more news on that later while I still try to wrap my head around that. Jeez. And in other news, and news hopefully that is not as weird as a pizza cinnamon toast crunch cereal. For you fans out there who always wanted a remaster of the 7th album from the group De La Soul, well, I have some good news for you. Because now it's been announced by De La Soul that they're going to be releasing a limited edition double splatter vinyl CD combination to actually be for the remaster of that said album from back in the day. And not only it features some stuff from MF Doom, but it also features Ghostface Killer, Carl Thomas, and Common, which is not bad. Not bad at all. And I, for one, who was lucky enough to snatch up the collection of De La Soul's entire musical collection when they offered it up online for absolutely free, am definitely going to try to get my hands on this very beautiful splatter record that they were able to release. And if you guys want to go ahead and get your hands on this said album, then you can head on over to the website only known as Substack.com to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, this album will release as of March 21st of 2025. And in other news, and more or less news from Chris Van Vliet, he would be able to interview none other than the lone wolf himself, Baron Corbin, who not only would talk about his career post-WWE, but also about his blood sport experience that he would be able to get into, and of course would be able to talk about his career in wrestling outside of the world of WWE again, according to Colin Michael, since I mentioned it before. And I got a feeling Baron Corbin outside of WWE is going to be something absolutely amazing. After checking out his Bloodsport performance, he's going places. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool interview that Chris Van Vliet would be able to have with the Lone Wolf himself, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Chris Van Vliet to check it out for yourselves. And, sad part about Baron Corbin, when he had a WrestleMania match, never got a chance to wear that wolf helmet or a giant wolf's head going out on the stage. That would have been pretty cool to see, especially with the song and the lighting. Missed opportunity. But either way you look at it, folks, with all those regular news stories out of the way, you guys at home know what time it is. Come on, you've been following along for well over 11 years. You know what's up. And Carl and Michael said our time? No, we still got time left on the show. It's time for us to go into a very special second homecoming anniversary edition of... No, Carl and Maestro, not that song. The other one. We're going to kick it old school this week. Me. All right, I think I'm ready. Because it's time for us to go into another edition of... Video Game News. Still got it. And in our first video game news story, and an exciting news for you fans out there who always wanted to see the grizzled young vets throw down in the world of gaming, well, I have some good news for you. Because the Bunami Code will return once again, and this time would have the grizzled young veterans featured during the said show playing Wrestle Kingdom 2. Ooh, a classic. And one of the most ridiculous matches that they would be able to have would feature none other than the man they call Vader and Giant Bernard, better known as Albert, or whatever his other name was, which I keep forgetting his real name, but I keep remembering all the other nicknames and things that he had, Lord Tensai, as well as when he came back to WWE, but still a very impressive hoss fight nonetheless. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out how did that hoss fight go between these two grizzled young veterans, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as AEW Games to check it out for yourselves. And in other video game news and news straight from the world of Grand Theft Auto Online, to celebrate the brand new Lunar New Year, which would be the year of the snake, Grand Theft Auto would go all out, not only introducing brand new jump or stunt races, a part of the world of Grand Theft Auto Online, but also alongside with a chance for you to win $100,000 if you're able to participate in any 2 stunt races for this week. And alongside with that, a chance for you to get a limited edition Lunar New Year livery for the mai.atmo FF. Now, I know I said the name of the said car wrong, but boy, does the skin for it look just right. And I'm surprised they didn't have a dragon skin for any of the cars last year for the Year of the Dragon. Sort of unfair, but to continue onward, folks, another thing they're able to have for this is the Yanabo collectible. And if you're able to collect all 36 of these said collectibles alongside the road, then you can go ahead and get a chance to go home with a very beautiful gold snake Capra outfit. Nice! But to go along with that said outfit, folks, they are also including a black snake Yogi Gishira outfit, as well as a red serpent leather jacket and a snake soul pendant to go along with it, and a snake king pendant, a red snake soul cap, and a gray snake king cap to go along with it as well too. Oh, I'm surprised, no tattoos, but hey, I guess the Lunar New Year is young. But outside of that, for you fans out there who is able to keep your nightclub going, you can get double the amount of daily income, as well as double the amount of RP on goods and nightclub missions, and stuff from Johan to help you out as well too. And to go alongside with that, folks, for this week on the Lucky Wheel, and according to Carl and the Maestro, would be the Grotti Stinger GT. Nice! And for those out there who is looking to get their said rubber on the road to try to win a car for the LS Car Meet, this week would be none other than the Ubermont Rebellia GTS SUV. And kind of strange they're offering an SUV, but they did offer the truck from Jumanji one time, so I guess it fits. And alongside with that, folks, we have discounts. And the discounts thus far, the stealth helicopter known as the Buckingham Valdolis is currently available for 40% off for this week. But to go alongside with that helicopter, not only you can get nightclub properties and upgrades and modifications off 30%, but even the Anis 300R 30% off, the Maibatsu Panamera 30% off, the Inverto Croquette D10, 30% off. The Albany VSTR, 30% off. The Lamangati Pigali, 30% off. Even the Declassi Vamos, 30% off. And finally, last but not least, the Hijack Rustin. Never heard of it, but it's 30% off for this week. Not bad. Not bad at all. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool discounts that are still making their way through the world of Rockstar as we speak, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and just click on that newswire button to check it out for yourselves. And in other video game news, and news straight from the world of Overwatch, for you fans out there looking for something for the Lunar New Year, well, I have some good news for you. Because it's been announced as of this week that yes, the Lunar New Year is here for Overwatch, not only including none other than the month meta, but even including a couple of very interesting skins for the Lunar New Year, including skins for, and according to Carl and the Maestro, several of the Overwatch characters that are featured for the season that is currently going on right now. Not bad. Not bad at all. You meant to say season 14. I know you forgot, but it's the 14th season for it. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out what sort of cool skins they got for the Year of the Snake and what else is coming down the tubes for the said 14th season of Overwatch, then you can go ahead and head on over to the website known as blizzard.com to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with that news story for this week, folks, you have all officially been brought up to speed. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Music Village for this week, right after this. So don't wear your horns out in traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, seeing the fact that the evening traffic is really starting to flow in, and it's just about that time for us to wrap things up for this homecoming show like no other, we might as well bring Music Village for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss anything for this anniversary show like no other, we got you covered. Because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, or even Tumblr pages still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag MusicVillage551. Remember when I said earlier there's an importance with the number 1 around here? Proves my point right here. And if you guys want to figure out all the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this Year of the Fist, like an alphanumerical situation we happen to find ourselves in whenever an anniversary rolls around, then you can go ahead and head on over to our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same after all this time, only known as the Double Agent 0012. And before we head out for the night, and seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I know it sounds cliche, but seriously, from the bottom of my heart, we would like to thank you, the fans out there, for listening in to a very special second homecoming 11th anniversary edition of Music Village. And seriously, this has been a dream of mine since I was a child, and the fact that well over 100,000 of you out there decided to play all the shows out there and just listen to my silliness is absolutely awesome. It's like icing on an already delicious cake that I'm eating right now. No, calling to make sure I'm not eating a cake, a metaphorical one. Might get one later, but for now, metaphorical, which really means the world to me, and thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say thank you enough to all of you out there, so seriously, thank you. I'm running out of words to say other than thank you to all those people out there who's been listening in, but seriously, I'm speechless at this point, which is unbelievable, seeing the fact of how much I run my mouth according to people on the streets. But if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Kenny Mason with his song Back Home, which I got a feeling is going to end things for this week. And the PR department's giving me the thumbs up over in the corner, and are you crying? Apparently they are. No need. No need. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets a chance to be featured, a part of this very show in any way, shape, or form, like the others we're about to mention over the past 11 years. And yeah, why? Because we believe you guys. Seriously, we do. Always have and always will. And speaking of people we need to thank that was a part of the show musically, and oh boy, this might be the biggest thank you list we've delivered thus far. We would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than Natalie Lyon with their said song of La Nature and Nightclub's Barmen that was featured during the show. Rymestar with their song of Juba and In the Days. Even Kristan Montgomery and the Winter Kill Band with their song of Gypsy Girl. JUI MILL with their song of Twilight. David Torrence with their said song of The Cold Shoulder. The Bushido with their song of Alcohol. And even none other than Girlschool with their said song of Pause for Peace and Rockaway Beach. mai.atmo with their said song of Black Sun, and finally, last but certainly not least, none other than Tekno AXE with their said song of Ariel. That was featured during this week's edition of a very special X-Men X-Weapon collaboration edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And to all those people who's been a part of the show and many more we may have forgotten, thank you as always. Keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And outside of thanking all those musical acts, and before people think we didn't forget the other half of the Academy Award list of people we need to thank, right off the top, we would like to thank our dad for allowing us to have MusicVillage headquarters here, and the shows we've done, well over 551 of them, not counting the Tuesday night special, Under the Radar, and all the other shows. 551 of them here in MusicVillage headquarters, and we would like to thank him for allowing us to get on his nerves from around the afternoon to late evening hours. Seriously, thank you for allowing me to follow my dreams, and can't wait to see if we can do this for another 11 years. And outside of thanking him and speaking of people who kept the dream alive this long, we would also like to thank Christopher Prevost, Johnny Valdala, I do believe Louis Ocampo, as well as Norman Walnerstein, Patrick Crocker, the people from Our City Radio, Your City Radio, SoundCloud, YouTube, Discord, as well as Twitter, and a couple of other people who's kept spreading the word about this show for the longest amount of time. Seriously, thank you guys. And also, before I forget, we would also like to thank our uncle for helping us come up with the idea for MusicVillage in the first place. Because if anybody ever known when there's smoke, there's fire, where that line came from, him. And we've been using it ever since. So yeah, 20 years out of 11, but still pretty impressive. And alongside with them, I would also like to thank, finally, last but certainly not least, you independent gamers out there for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits and clips that we had a chance to mention throughout the 11 years we've had this show on the air. Seriously, guys, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because we wouldn't have games to mention a part of this show if it wasn't for you guys. And a big thank you on the side as well for Takeshi Games for allowing us to mention his games on the show, and to have not only a video game review, but a true video game story for it as well. Seriously, man, thank you. And to all of you out there, keep creating those awesome games, and we can't wait to mention them when we hit 20 years for this show in the future. And as always, guys, you never know what show's coming around the corner next. So keep those games coming. Seriously, man, keep them coming. And also, before we forget and call in the maestro in the PR department, don't worry, we didn't forget about you guys. We would like to thank you guys as well for being a part of this show for well over 11 years, as well as Dan the Weatherman Stu, Sarsaparilla Mike, and Vinny, Barney, and the other guys who appear on this show, sporadically throughout the broadcast, which we really do appreciate, and can't wait to see what you guys do next on the show. And I guess with everybody that we could possibly thank under the blue moon and sun, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for this 11-year-old show that is still going on strong despite what people think, singing me, 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 me. I ride with only the strong, 'cause only the strong survive outside. But there's no need to go outside. See you when you make it back home. See you when you make it back home. Now they see the reason why I picked that song. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special month-ending fist-fighting edition of MusicVillage. But until then, good night, everybody.